Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Shawnee Boy Show, otherwise known as the Gritty Hour. How are you, Shawnee Boy?
What's up, T? I'm good, brother. How are you?
All right, we're
Yeah.
uh, we're doing a shoot the shite night. I just got home from work and figured I'd have you on the show. We'll shoot the shite.
Yeah, it's actually a good night for that, right? I feel like this is I'm hoping, maybe it's just I'm hoping that this is the beginning of spring. Even though it was only 33 today, it's an improvement.
Well, spring officially is in 25 some odd days,
Yeah, it's not far. I mean, March is a wrap next week.
Before you know it, you'll be having a catch with Colin.
Yeah, I mean February is a wrap, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I know. Well, before we started the record, you ever watch a dubbed movie?
Well, before we get to that, I was going to say before we would start a recording, I was telling you that this is my going to be the new podcast room. It's in my home, and we're in the process of transitioning to this new location. So the sound is not 100%, the video is definitely not 100%, but we're getting there. And then you brought up dub.
Yeah. So you were talking about something about hearing. When you were
Well, I
studying for.
had I had two cameras set up, and the second camera there was a slight lag in the, so it looked like Elijah was here, and it looked like he was lip syncing it because his lips were moving, and then the words came out afterwards, driving me up the
Yeah.
wall.
Yeah, that was referencing. Ever watch a dubbed movie? It's like a
No,
movie.
after all that shite, I'd never seen the
a,
dub movie.
a dubbed movie is like uh, pick a country that's like Romania, right? They speak way different type of language, so it will be done in Romanian, but then they'll dub it in English. But then the people are talking in their language,
Oh,
but
a
the
dubbed
sound.
movie. Yes, I
Yeah.
thought you were giving me a movie named Dubbed. No, I've
Oh
seen
no,
plenty
no,
of.
yeah, yeah.
There's a genre called spaghetti westerns.
I've seen a few with
Yeah,
Clint Eastwood back in the day. Yeah.
mostly in the '60s and the early '70s that were filmed mostly in Italy, even though they had American actors in it. They would, a lot of the characters would be speaking Italian, but they'd have American overdubs on them. So,
Gotcha.
yeah,
It's the same as that connects to a lot of people don't realize the Bronx Tale was filmed in Astoria, Queens.
yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. Nothing is as it seems.
Not dubbed though.
On the flip side of that, there was a show on Netflix a few years ago called Kim's Convenience. I was just talking about that
Oh
show
yeah, yeah,
today,
yeah.
and that was took place in Canada, and I think it was filmed in Canada. But I tell you, the street scenes from that show look like Astoria to me.
Yeah, it's got Queens written all over it.
You've seen
For
that
sure.
show?
Yeah, a buddy of mine I used to work with, he like recommended it whenever it came out about a couple years ago. I liked it. It's just there was too many seasons for me to commit to it. But like, yeah, I agree with you. The scenes were like New York City, Queen style.
Yeah, it had that. It definitely had that feel. I guess you wouldn't notice it if you weren't from that area, this area.
Yeah. Uh,
So,
Yeah, I mean the corner store. I mean, in my New York centric mindset, is like that's the corner store comes from New York, but maybe I'm
yeah.
wrong.
And you and I both have been in a million bodegas, grocery stores like that.
Corner stores, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, you walk in, hey, what's up, boss man? I always say, what's up, boss man?
So I just got home from my day job, which is over in Millbrook there, and my two business partners are in town, Rich and George.
Okay,
And that's what I didn't get home till I told you we'd meet at 6 p.m. as we're talking. It's 6 minutes after. I got home at like 5:54. I said I better get my shite together here
yeah,
because you can't delay Shawnee Boy. People don't know.
no, that's okay.
You
I'm
go on
so
a
demanding.
tirade.
I'm so demanding.
I'm only
Right,
kidding. How's Lenny doing?
she's good. I actually got really good news. We got first step approved
Really?
officially from the government this past week. Yeah,
From which U.S. government?
from the I'm not gonna show the form, but it's
Well, for those that are just watching this and not anything else on the channel, Shawnee Boy is my nephew, and he's engaged to a young lady from the Philippines, and we're trying to get her into the United States legally, which is much harder than illegally. And
Yeah.
he's in that process of doing that, so that's why he's got some good news today.
Yeah, an I-797 form, which just says that the United States government has approved our application, which means that it's a green light go. But there's one more step. She has to. We still have to present some relationship evidence and personal evidence to the U.S. Embassy in the Philippines. But it's really just her going there and having an interview and a medical exam, presenting certain information, and then it's accepted. So that
Wow.
there was a big step. This was the biggest step because until that gets approved, it's stuck. It's pending. It's constantly pending. You know.
Yeah, that's
So
exciting news, though.
yeah, oh yeah, we're very excited. I mean, with this step, like there is it would be what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I lost my train of thought. It's gone, but it's
Okay.
all positive though. It's all
Yeah.
positive.
Yeah. So on the way over here, I was because I was supposed to do a podcast with your cousin Christopher, because I was curious, with the whole new Trump administration and all the things that are going
Mhm.
on with that, what his uh, take on how it would affect his industry, the real estate industry. He does house flipping and all that kind of stuff, wholesaling. And I'm curious of his input on what he feels the new administration will be on his particular industry.
Yeah, I know that the interest rates have gone down a smidge, as they say.
Yeah, that's probably the kingpin as to making it come alive again or not. But
Yeah.
so he had to do actually when we were scheduled to have a podcast, have him on the show. He's been on the show well, I think three other times. Um, he had to take his dog to the vet.
Okay.
So we had to cancel and reschedule. And then I was on the way home from the shop today to come do this. I had the thought I should have him on tonight, and the three of us could have a thing. But I was driving by the state troopers barracks as I had the phone in the hand and decided I
You
decided
know
not to
what?
call.
You know what? You
So
know,
if you're listening to this one, Christopher, we'll get you on in sometime in the month
that's
of
funny.
March. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the well, you know what's been going on with oh, obviously I'm sure you do with them finding out all the different types of spending.
Oh yeah.
That's
Well,
yeah,
that's the main topic of conversation around the
around
various
around the country, maybe even the world. But you knew everyone knew. All right, some of this money's not being spent properly. But then when you hear a comment like, I mean, I'm guessing it's true. Sesame Street in Pakistan, you're like, what? Or Baghdad, maybe. You're like, what? What are we doing?
Well, a lot of those things I think are CIA fronts, but who knows? I'm not
Yeah.
educated enough to know. It's just my gut reaction. But the other thing that was uh, particularly galling to me was Trump was reading off this litany of uh, people that are on the Social Security rolls. Whatever he said, like two and
Yep.
a half million people over 100 years old. Like,
Yeah.
how many people are over 100 years old in the United States? Maybe 20,000
Yeah.
top.
Well, if that, right?
Yeah.
That seems high.
And then he was going on. It was like a million and a half were over 120 years old, and I don't know, 50,000 were over 160 years old, and there was one that was 300 years old,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is older than the country. So,
Yeah. Which is
um,
that. I mean, whether like let's whether that's completely true or not. Whatever. I think the point is that I'm guessing that in Social Security, people are being paid that shouldn't be getting paid.
yeah, well, that's either that or people are just pocketing money that, it's a sham.
Yeah, yeah, and then they keep talking about and for someone like in your shoes who's probably headed towards retirement at some point in the near future, and uh, me, I'm still working, but I'm starting to get to the other side of looking at retirement to a certain degree. Like did I just pay into Social Security for the last 30, 40 years for people just to pocket that money? Like that's like whatever comes out of this, it's like almost like going to the doctor. You'd rather know than not know. That's how I look at life. I'd rather know. Tell me exactly what's going on, even if it's gonna,
and fix it.
yeah, and fix it.
Yeah.
Fix it.
Well, since I was in high school, sporadically you'd hear news reports about the insolvency of Social Security. It's going to run out of money in 5 years. It's
Yeah.
going to run out of money and blah blah blah. Well, maybe it's more solvent than you think if you've got all this corruption going on. I mean, think of 2.5 million people that don't exist that are getting whatever they're getting, 1,500, 2 grand a month.
Yeah.
Think of how much money that is.
Yeah. Let's just nice easy number. That's 20 grand times a million people. Well,
Yeah.
20. I don't know if that's 200 million or 2 billion. I don't know what that number is, but
All I remember is when I was working in Manhattan, they tax you to death for Social Security.
yep.
And you worked a little overtime, they tax you to death and then brought you back to life and then beat you to death again.
Yeah.
You
Oh
know?
yeah.
So it's, I don't know. When they first, I have always said when they first started Social Security, I think it was like, I could be wrong about the stats, but at least 10 or 20 to 1, workers versus retirees. It's during the FDR administration.
Yeah.
And now it's 2 to 1 or two.
So for every 2 workers, we're supporting one Social Security person.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's your job to stay on the job till I drop dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more like my nephew or someone who's 15 to 20, like, they're gonna have to carry that, or 25, right? They're gonna have to carry that torch.
Yeah, but I suspect it's more solvent than all these people have let on over the years.
When you say that, what exactly does that mean?
There's plenty of money in Social Security
Okay.
if you take away the corruption.
Yeah. Well,
You know.
that's what you're learning from the story. You're like, all right, well, if for the last 15 to 22, for the last 7, 8 years, we've blown through $71 billion. Like that's like the number they were given. You're like, all right, well, if you remove all of those issues, then I don't think so. It shouldn't be that much of an issue.
Right. Well, that's my point. Because on the other side of the coin, there's plenty of people, you can start taking Social Security, you can start getting retirement money when you're 62 or something like that. So
Yeah.
there's plenty of people that want to max out, so they'll wait to their 67, I think is the year that you get the full.
Yep.
It goes up incrementally if you wait. And how many of those people die before they hit 67, 68?
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
they don't get a dime.
Yeah.
So you add that plus the corruption, I think it's much more solid than people have been intimating over the last 30 years, 40 years.
Yeah. At the core of this, it's exciting. Because I was talking to somebody. Everyone's asked this question: where does tax money go? Like, why is there not? So if I have to, like, if I run a business on tax time, I have to itemize my stuff, right? You have to itemize your things.
Hmm.
You have to show everything that you're spending. Like your business. The government doesn't have to do that.
Yeah.
You're like, wait. Well, it's like do what I say, not what I do.
Hmm.
It's like,
I can't believe this pushback on this corruption that they're finding. I think it's all been zoned in on Elon Musk, with the Doge thing.
yeah.
And there's people that just don't like him personally. And you can, I don't really care either way about the guy, but I can see where he could be a focal point for people's hatred, But I want to see them get into the Department of Defense. I mean, when you think about what we spend on defense, like we spend more on defense than the next 19 countries combined.
Yeah. What was it, like 65, 70% of our yearly budget? Am I wrong?
No, it's not that much.
Okay, I'm wrong. All right.
It's probably close to 4%, maybe 5 of our GDP.
Yeah, which is it's
You know.
it's if and so far Trump's been doing what he says. You know, he's like, hey, these are the things I'm going to do, and he's exactly what he's doing, which is refreshing too, because that hasn't happened. Um, I hope they go through the whole government and be like, hey, like,
Yeah,
so in my mind, I'm like, we might not have to be paying this much taxes.
yeah,
Like, whatever. Let's say my number probably now is, I don't know, around 30%, whatever the number is. Like if they really do correct this and make these changes, like maybe I go down to 24 to 20, like, you know, but 5% for the year, that's a lot.
yeah, yeah. You know, income tax is not as old as the country. I forget what year it was implemented, but I think it was implemented around World War One. So
Yeah, because they used to do the tariff because he's big on the tariffs. They used to do the tariffs in the 1800s.
yeah, I
You
don't
know,
know if that's feasible to pay our way as a country, but I could certainly wouldn't mind a decrease in our income tax rates.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, maybe because we're just indoctrinated into it. Like we've been paying, ever since you got a job, you've been paying taxes. It's not something I think that much about. It's just more about, well, when you find out that they're spending, $20 million on some kind of a different country's program that has nothing to do with us, you're like, all right, well, this is crazy. Like,
Yeah,
you
but
know,
it's also it can't be that some of those things were so ridiculous that it can't be. It's got to be a front. It's got to be a front for something else, is what I'm getting.
yeah.
You know,
Point
either
being
that
is
or people are just pocketing unbelievable amounts of money, corrupt in corruption. You know.
yeah. I mean, the fundamental point is that whatever they've been doing for X amount of years, 20, 30, 40, 50, like something has to change. Otherwise, we keep heading in the wrong direction.
Yeah, but I want to meet that 300-year-old guy. You know.
That'd be impressive. That'd be
Yeah.
right. But that also connects to, I'm going to say Nancy Pelosi, but whatever. I don't know enough about her, but like the Nancy Pelosi's of the world that are just, making her yearly salary is 180 grand, and she's worth over $100 million.
Yeah. Well, there's corruption. There's got to be corruption there too. I
Yeah,
mean. I don't think if I think if you I think I've said this in a previous podcast. If you run for office, a federal office like Congress or the Senate, you should forfeit your right to self guide your stock portfolio.
that's correct.
You know, you should. They used to be a thing called a blind trust. I don't know why they don't have that anymore. But you shouldn't be allowed to trade stocks if you're public stocks if you're a public if you hold public office.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, you can hire somebody to do it for you in what's called a blind trust, where you don't know what's going on in the portfolio.
Yeah, yeah. That actually makes more sense because if I knew like a major law change was coming, and let's say it's going to benefit, I don't know, the tomato fields, and I start investing in the tomato companies. You're just like, all right, well, yeah. No wonder why you just made $5 million this
Yeah,
year. Like,
give me 20,000 shares of Heinz, please.
yeah, exactly. You're just like, all right, yeah, yeah. It's just, we're
No, I
humans.
agree. I agree with you 100%. And I think most Americans are probably, because it's really common sense, you know. But the other story is all of these things, like he's been the president for 4 weeks, as you and I are talking. Four
It's
weeks in,
crazy. It's only been a month. It's
yeah,
wild.
4 weeks in, I think 1 or 2 days. So
Yeah, it feels maybe because he was in it already. If I'm like, it feels like it feels like he's been president for a while. But you're like,
I
dude,
know, but well, because he was once before. But I know I read an article. I forget where the hell I read it, where the guy was saying he's throwing so much out there that the opposition doesn't know where to turn. Like, what do we hate? What are we against first?
yeah,
So I guess they're focusing on Elon Musk, which I don't know how he can defend, you know, Sesame Street in Afghanistan or wherever. But um, it seems like the opposition doesn't know where to point their cannon. You know.
it. Don't you think it's strange that like Donald Trump, he won the election pretty handily, right? I think America has spoken
I'd
for the
say
most
so. I'd say.
for the most part, right?
Hmm.
They say blue states, but it's really blue cities. That's
Yeah. Well, same as the state we're in, mostly Republican except for a couple of,
Yeah, yeah, for New York, for most of New York City, the tri-state area, right? Which is fine. Like, everyone's entitled to believe what they want to believe. I have no problem with that. Um, it's gotten so team oriented. I'm a Democrat, or I'm a far left liberal, or I'm a in that, like, for instance, like, they're looking to blame Elon Musk. Like, instead of just being like, hey, let me take a deep breath. And this is a generalization. Like, I'm sure there's some rational people out there, but like, they're blaming him for finding corruption.
yeah,
You're like, and maybe is some of it fabricated, or maybe they're trying to sell a little. Like, whether it is or it isn't, like, they're finding corruption. Like, that's obvious.
yeah.
So, and then you're upset about it, like what you said before, and you're just like, what am I missing? There's something that's like, I don't know. Like, I feel there's like a piece of the puzzle that just doesn't make sense to me. Like,
No.
and people are like, well, not everybody is. I'm like, yeah, but at the core, nobody likes to have their money taken for the wrong reasons. Like, that's a kind of fundamental thought.
Yeah. Well, like what you just said about it's like a team sport. You're part of this team, Democrat, Republican. That's why I got out of that party thing. It's got to be
Yeah,
30 years ago because there was so much BS on both sides that you just, and I can consider myself left leaning on certain issues and right leaning on other issues. And I think I have to feel, my gut tells me most Americans are that way. You
yeah,
know, there's just things that make sense and things that don't, you know. But I think the tact, and you got to keep in mind, Trump's had 4 years to map out this plan he's implementing. Um, the majority of what's going on now, to me, it makes common sense. And I look at some of the other things, like we want to take over Greenland, or we want to make Canada a state, or Gulf of America, the Panama Canal. I'm not sure if that's a diversionary tactic, you know, to get people thinking about Greenland while you're doing something over here. It's
yeah.
like
Could be. I mean,
because
kind of
that
like,
stuff that stuff doesn't make common sense to me. It's like, what the hell do we want? No offense to my Canadian friends, I have Canadian friends. They don't want to be a part of the United States, I don't think. And do we want them to be a part of the United States?
no, there's no reason for it.
They'd be immediately, if they came in as one state, they'd be the biggest state in the union, right? Definitely the biggest state territorially.
Well, whatever territories they have, would you break it up? Like, I'm not even. You know what? I'm not even going to go down that
No,
road.
that's what I say. These things don't make common sense to me.
All of a sudden, we're in this podcast. We're taking over Canada.
Well,
Cool, but
this is why I think it's been floated out there as a diversion,
yeah,
in my
maybe.
opinion, or a bargaining tool or something.
Yeah, the Canada, the Gulf of America, Mexico, Greenland. Yeah, like, those aren't like, those are not a thought on my mind. I think for the first time, I really think that the administration is trying to focus on us.
Yeah, well, that's what he ran on, that America First
And
platform.
if so far, it's only, like you said, it's been 30 days or whatever.
Yeah, well,
So far, it feels that way. And, you know, at the individual person's level, like, if you aren't right, if you aren't whole, if you aren't doing well mentally or physically, right? Like, that has to be our priority. And I think the same thing for as a country. Like, you're not going to agree on everything. Well, this country's too big, but like, we have to start really focusing on what's good for us, in a healthy way, not in a completely selfish way, but just a healthy way that's going to make sure that this country continues to, have success and be in a positive light for the most part. It's not going to be perfect. Nothing's going to be. I was talking to a friend. I was just like, they're like, yeah, Trump. I'm like, yeah, he's going to do some stuff that you're not going to like. He's a human being. Like, I know he's president, but he's a person. Like, he's not. He's going to screw up at some point. Like,
he drives me crazy when he's giving us a press conference. He's given like one or two press conferences every bloody day, but the
yeah,
way he speaks just drives me up the wall.
yeah. Well, you also, for the last 9, 10 years, you've just been hearing him, like, he's he's been a dominant voice in news for a decade,
Yeah.
and probably more, right?
Well, if you're from New York City, you know Trump
Yeah,
well.
since
As long as I can remember, I've known
yeah,
about
since the
Trump.
'70s, right? '60s and '70s, he's
Yeah,
been.
I mean, we're
So
talking like Wallman rating skating rink days. I mean, it's yeah, but I think he's a bargainer. You know, it's funny. The first thing he attacked obviously was the immigration issue, the illegal immigration issue, and the border. You know, and I remember at the very beginning, Mexico was not gonna do the stay in Mexico
hmm
policy. I forget what they call it,
yeah, like, yeah, stay there. But wait, I know what you mean, though. I
stay
know
in
what you mean.
place, whatever it's
Yeah,
called.
stay. Yeah,
And then he was talking about tariffs on Mexico. He's going to impose tariffs, and then the next thing you know, the stay in place policies in effect, and Mexico is going to supply troops to guard their side of the border. So sometimes these things are just bargaining. You know, like the media will jump on something like Greenland, but it's probably a bargaining, or either a diversion or a bargaining chip for something else that he wants.
that's politics, right?
Yeah,
And I think right now, I think he's kind of exactly what I don't know, but if I'm gonna be able to say this for all 4 years he's in the Oval Office, but I think right now he's exactly what this country needed.
yeah.
Right. This is what we're doing. You don't have to agree with it. This is what we're going for. Right. We're going to clean up the border. We're going to look at our corruption. We're going to do all these things, and then we'll see how it goes. I think right now I'm breathing easier. I feel less stressed in this country in the last month, for sure.
Yeah, and it's hard to believe all that crap's happened in 30 days, but
Yeah.
2 days. But the other thing is all you got to do is just make a comparison to the previous president and the way things were then and the way things are now. It's like night and day,
Yeah.
you know.
That was just that was a shite show, as we say
Yeah,
today.
yeah. It's like you went from a tearjerker movie and you went to the other theater and now you're in an action movie.
Yeah, yeah, it's completely different. So yeah, it feels calmer. It feels better. I think a lot more people came to some common sense in the last election, and again, I'm not. Trump isn't. He's not the end all say all. Like again,
No,
he's gonna make his mistakes, but uh, I just feel like there's a lot more stability right now.
yeah,
It feels more stable.
yeah. I came into this whole thing supporting RFK, and a lot of people. It seems to me the people that aren't in RFK's, supporting RFK, to me, from my personal experience, is they're not educated enough. They're hearing what the media is throwing at them,
Of course.
which is for the most part bullshit. And no, he's not a be all end all either, but he's a lot better than the media has portrayed him to be, and I think he'll do a great job as the head of the head of the Health and Human Services administration.
Yeah, gotcha.
Because something's going on with this autism is the one thing. One I don't know what the problem is, but the in the last 30 years, the amount of people with autism has gone through the roof. You know,
Yes, yes, it
and the
has.
argument the argument could be, well, that wasn't diagnosed back then. Yeah, it was. You've heard about autism when I was in school, but it was like one out of every 10, 20,000 kids had autism. Now it's one out of every 34 or something
Is
like that, or
that
34, something like that, right?
well? I don't know the number. I know it's definitely like a lot. The ratio's shrunk for sure.
So there's got to be a reason, and that's what I hope RFK gets to the root of the cause of that.
Yeah, he if people want to be fully informed with all of these figures, like the best thing to do is, and you don't have to listen to Joe Rogan's podcast. They go on all types of podcasts,
Yeah,
all of them from both sides. Like if you like, I started to do my due diligence over the last 2 years, and I've listened to all of them for 2 3 hour podcast episodes, and I've gotten and that's really helped me and helped inform me about like because when you catch, it's like saying I heard 2 minute clip of somebody and I know who they are.
Yeah.
It's just not. I just don't think it takes effort. Like you have to like sit down and listen to these people and kind of get an idea of their character and what they're trying to do. A lot of people who don't know much about RFK don't realize that he he's been a lawyer fighting like pharma, fighting health stuff.
He
He
was an
cleaned up the
environmental lawyer too, in
yeah.
the
I was gonna
Natural Resources Defense Council. Yeah.
he cleaned up the Hudson River with a team of lawyers. Like it's not like he just came out of nowhere and now he's like, all right, like he's been doing this for 40 years or something. I don't know what the exact number is, but
No,
he's
you're
been doing
right.
it for a long time. Like he's an experienced guy. Like you
Yeah.
may not agree with everything he's trying to do, but he's, like some people are like, oh, he's nuts. Like, come on. Like you're just responding to the moment. Like he has a real pedigree here. Like he's fought real big companies and he's won.
Yeah. Well,
So yeah,
the one thing, and you said the word that I think is key. The one thing I think has changed from the first Trump administration and then going through 4 years of the other guy, and now the first month into his new administration, the one thing has changed is podcasts. I think we're really going to witness the decline of the mainstream media. I think it's going to go away.
I hope so. This it's now again. I'm probably over saying this, but maybe I'm not. It's a fear based message
Yeah,
every day to keep people like, oh my, like think about like a storm coming, like a
yeah,
snowstorm that comes through. It's like 3 to 6 inches. We're from the Northeast. Three to 6 inches means nothing to me. Like, yeah, I got a shovel. I'm not concerned about it though. I'm not like, oh my, I gotta have batten the hatches and be like, oh, the store. Like you go to the grocery stores and there's signs that say snowstorm watch coming.
yeah. I remember a few
You're
weeks
like,
ago they predicted 12 to 15 inches where we're at.
yeah,
Then we got what, maybe 3.5, you know?
yeah.
But 70 degrees and sunny doesn't sell commercials, you know?
No, it's not. It's not scary.
12 to 15 inches
Yeah,
sells commercials,
yeah. Hurricanes sell commercials. Yeah,
It
all
gets
that
people
stuff.
looking up your local weather,
Yeah.
you know? But you're right, that's a great analogy, and I've used that analogy myself. It is scare tactics, that's what sells commercials, you know?
Yeah, that tells the news, and because I've gotten in conversations with people, they're like, "Oh, you don't watch." I kind of stopped watching the news about three to 5 months after the pandemic. I said, "I can't do this anymore. This is nuts."
Yeah,
Like
you mentioned that, yeah.
I was like, "It's too much,"
Hmm.
and that's just how I don't know. I didn't have an answer for it. That's how I felt here in my chest. I'm like, this is like stressful. Like, so I got away from it, and I went into podcasts because a couple of my buddies like, "Hey, you should listen to podcasts." I'm like, "All right." And I feel so much more informed. I'm not a master at any of it, but I have knowledge now about like kind of like what they're talking about. Like it makes sense to me, Like
Yeah,
I've listened.
like, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I have a clearer picture of kind of how this is all working. I don't know all of it, but
Yeah, but a case in point is, what's that guy's name? Mark Benz, Mike Benz?
yeah, I listened to him. It was pretty wild what he's saying.
He was on Tucker Carlson, and he's been doing the rounds. He's been on Joe Rogan recently and Tucker
Yep.
Carlson.
Yeah,
Now,
and Sean Ryan. You know Sean Ryan?
no.
Yeah, he's a Navy SEAL podcast. He does more than just Navy SEALs, but it's really check him out. He's good.
Well, the point I wanted to make was, I don't know how much credence you put on this guy, but he is well informed at the very least. He's a reporter, for the most part, investigative reporter.
Yep.
And the way he spells things out is, it gives you a lot of clarity as to things just make sense. It's like, this is why they're doing this, because they got this going on, And the underlying point I wanted to make was, this is where a lot of people get informed. I think more people are more informed now because of podcasts than they were 5, 10 years ago, even.
Yeah, I agree.
And I hope it brings, no offense to the mainstream media, I hope it brings down mainstream media, or at least makes them change their business model from, this terror thing. Or I really hope it ultimately brings down parties, because I was never, like I said, 35 years ago, I've been an independent, and I think parties are toxic to our country.
Yeah, I've spoken those same words before. I don't know what the pivot would be from, but the and even though right now like Republicans are, they seem more logical and common sense. They have their this is my team mentality too. It's not like they're free of that for sure. Um, but I'm with you. Like it's exhausting. It's this country's the news to the teams to the parties to the minute somebody says something, everyone's fighting it. You're just like, man, like how do we get like? I'm sure people know how we got here, but it's a shame. Like I feel like people aren't listening to each other.
Yeah, and it's not no under the sun. I mean, you can go back to the 1800s. I think that's where the term yellow journalism came
Yep.
from, the 1800s. There's always been BS in the media, but I just think that formula, like I'm thinking when I say mainstream media, I'm thinking of Fox, MSNBC,
Yeah.
CNN, CNBC, whatever the hell it is.
CBS, Channel Two, Channel
Yeah,
Four,
well, no, CBS, ABC, and NBC, the news divisions anyway,
for sure.
are the business model just wants to scare you, and they're all
Yeah.
aligned one way or the other, you know. And if you get all your news from Fox, you're not getting the whole picture. If you get all your news from MSNBC or CNN, you're lost. I mean, you're lost, you know.
Yeah.
And and still, there's millions and millions of people that get their news just from Fox or get their news just from MSNBC or CNN, and they're not completely informed. But the podcast, sitting down in a long form format, like this guy Mark. If his name ain't Mike, I'm sorry. I
I
think it's
think I
Mike.
think it's Mike Benz. I think it's
Yeah,
Mike Benz.
you get a full comprehensive picture of what's at least going on in his mind, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he illustrates a lot of what he sees going on in the government.
Yeah.
And you can't get that from Fox or MSNBC. You know, we'll be back right after this, and we got a 15-second hard commercial break coming. You know.
Yeah. It's a canned tomato soup commercial. You're like,
Yeah, and you got
everything's
you
happening.
get you just bring these talking heads on, and it's just
Yeah.
it's I can't watch it anymore.
I listened to Mike Benz. I mean, he's like super knowledgeable, and it's like if you're gonna get all of it, you gotta like take notes. But you get the gist, right? He was talking about something I thought was I didn't expect to hear, but it made sense about how the music industry has been used by the government to influence, and like I just never thought of it like that before.
Mm.
About so I'll give you a quick example. Of what he's saying in the 1940s during I guess World War II, Russia was going into Africa and being like, "Don't support America." I could be saying it kind of wrong, but I'm just giving you the gist. They're racist against your kind, and then America tried to use Louis Armstrong and all those people, that
You
whole
talking about
crew.
Russia or Germany at the time in World War II?
I think he said Russia, but anyway, the point
Okay.
is that the American government leaned on these musicians to like uh, be like the face of the country to help gain more um, other people from outside looking at America in a good way instead of a negative way, and like
Oh.
using the music industry to help promote the country.
Well, yeah, music and film has always been used as
Yeah.
propaganda. It's just,
I just know, like, it totally makes sense. It just like I knew about movies, but in music, I'm like, yeah, I never really thought of it like that. I was always just listening to music just to listen to music.
no, I understand. Yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying. But
Yeah, so it was just interesting to hear because you talked about the government aid, the main aid. I forget the name of it right now, but the aid that's giving money away to the world and all these different things. You're like, yeah, okay, makes all sense. But that kind of stood out to me as something I was like, oh wow, that's interesting. That the government is always trying to find an angle. They're
yeah,
always trying to find a way in and out to like make themselves better.
yeah. Well, I can't see the Democratic Party or the Republican Party going away anytime soon. But as Thomas Jefferson said, the worst thing for this country would be parties.
Yeah,
Because could you lock into a certain thing? If you're a Democrat, you can't say, well, I'm for Elon Musk taking the listing the corruption, saving money, whatever he's doing. And if you're a Republican, you can't say, well, You know what I mean? You can't go outside your party lines comfortably, and you have to think independently. There's certain things that the Democrats will come up with, and certain things that the Republicans come up with that you'll agree with. That you shouldn't paint your own self into a corner politically. You got to think outside your comfort zone sometimes.
Yeah, and I think podcasts help you do that. That's kind of one of the themes you've been talking about today. Is
Hmm.
it allows you to hear somebody out, and then you can make your own independent decision. Whereas, for a lot of people, and listen, people are busy, they have lives, they have families. It's not like but so maybe you don't have the time, and listen to the 6 o'clock news for 20 minutes. It's just easy because you can put it on while you're cooking, but you can also put a podcast on these days. It's
And it's
like
just it's what your parents did, and it's
yeah.
that kind of thing. I mean, my parents always had the 6 o'clock news on.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, I remember, grandma always, popping the news on for sure.
Yeah, but it's just I think its time its time has come and gone, in my opinion.
I hope you're right. I think it's a big problem.
It is, and I think there's more people today that are more informed than they were. Thinking outside their comfort zone because of podcasts. I think the podcasts bring a lot of hope to me in terms of informing people, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. You need to be informed of what's really going on. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
and
And
if I'm sorry, if it solves that problem itself, it's worth it.
but yeah, it does. The most important thing is is having information, to understand the whole scope of what's going on.
Yeah. Well,
You know,
don't forget the greatest podcast of all time, the Gritty Hour. Uh, you and my old friend Rich DeVal were talking about the Mets, and that episode is out there. I think, right? We
yep.
published that. Did you guys come up with a prediction in that? I don't think so.
Yeah, we did at the end. How many wins?
How many wins? Okay, but not postseason prediction.
Nah, I try to stay away from that. Yeah, every year I go into every year I go into it and be like, all right, we're gonna be really good this year. They shit the bed. So
Yeah.
I
Well,
just I just kind of take it as it is.
I did the intro and the outro, but you took the hosting reins. I had dinner while you guys were talking,
Yeah.
and I know you predicted the amount of what the record would be, right?
Yeah. Like I think we both I think I said 91 to 92. He said like 92, 93. Something which makes sense. Today was actually the first game of spring training. Soto hit a home run his first at bat.
I told you, Rich and my two business partners, Rich and George, were here. I just left them before I came to here to do this podcast,
Yeah.
and he said he was watching the Met game today, and he mentioned Soto hitting a homer in his first at bat.
Yeah. So SNY, which is the Mets sports station, um they teamed up with the MLB. MLB, you can buy the baseball package for the year. You know
Yes,
that.
yes, yes.
So they teamed up with them, and like I'm ecstatic because I would buy the MLB package every year because if I went to Florida or if I traveled somewhere, I could still kind of watch the Met games or whatever, or at least peek at them. But when you're home, the blackout rule, you wouldn't be able to watch the Met games on the MLB app here. So SNY teamed up with them, so now you can buy the Mets for the year for 120, $125 or
So
something.
they would dip it in your pocket two times, SNY. Though the Mets, they would, if you needed SNY and MLB.
Yeah. So now I don't now they MLB has their regional rights, so like it's amazing. So I didn't buy the MLB package. I just bought the Mets package in MLB, which is kind of the same price, but I was only buying it to watch the Met games anyway.
Since this agreement between SNY and the MLB, has there been an increase in the package price?
Uh, I don't. Yeah, you can do the combo, the MLB season, and that for like 220 or 230. I forget, but I don't care about. I'm at a point. I don't watch other games. Like I don't have enough time to
No, I
sometimes
mean,
watch it.
I'm talking about specifically the Met package. Has it increased since this agreement?
I don't know. It just came out. It started at 125, I think.
Okay, and how
Yeah,
many games do you get for that?
you get the whole season.
Including games that are on national television?
Spring training, no, just SNY games. But I have those on my YouTube TV, right? So I have Channel 11 and so I get those regardless. But with the SNY, what I'm saying is that if I was home, I still couldn't watch them on MLB, right? Because SNY is no longer on YouTube TV or Fubo or all these streaming services. It's impossible to get.
Right.
It's the same thing as the Yankees are on Amazon. I think Amazon, but or some games are on Amazon. But then if you don't have regular cable, like yeah, to get like all these sport team stations are becoming so what's the word I'm looking for? It's really hard to watch a game. The NBA actually this connects. I was watching a podcast of ex NBA players and they're saying the NBA is doing really bad this year. It's because it's so hard to like first off find a game, right? Because all the regional teams now, all their stations aren't just on regular TV anymore. They've moved them to like you got to buy this little package, and you got to, if it's not on TNT, you can't watch your team, and so they've lost a lot of eyes on basketball. It's actually struggling at a high rate this year. Um, so
The viewership or the attendance? Well, it has nothing to do with the attendance.
I think the viewership. So
Yeah.
and we both know like TV contracts are how these teams make the real money.
Mm-hmm.
So they're making it very hard for the average person at home to watch. Like I couldn't, like I had to use my brother's account to watch SNY, and I had to sign in as him. I don't want to do that. Like eventually, like I don't want to get in trouble or something. So so this year it was a gift. I found out like 2 days ago. It's like, oh, you can buy the SNY Met games on MLB app for $125. You get the whole season. I said done because it was $125 just for the MLB app, and I wasn't watching any of the other teams. Is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to watch the Mets, but when I'm in New York, I can't watch them anywhere on the MLB app. So I'm just wasting 100. It's only when I went away for like 6 weeks throughout the year.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing that's changed in the media is the fracturing of all of these things, you know. If you want to watch a movie, I can't imagine people that are subscribed to Paramount and Disney and
Yeah, it's crazy.
this, that, and the other. Like, how the hell can you afford that? You know,
Yeah.
it could be $300-400 a month for these things combined. If you
Oh,
want all
yeah.
of
Like
them.
I was up to. I know people that like. I mean, everyone's different. I have someone who has cable and then has all the. They pay like $400 for the month.
That's my point. If you wanted all the Hulu and all of these subscription channels, I
Yeah.
don't know. It's so fractured, you know, and you have to pick and choose. Do I want to watch everybody recommends this show? Should I get on Apple TV to watch this show? And then there's another $12 every, nickel and dime you to death, you know?
Yeah. Like YouTube TV for 12 months is almost $1,000 for the year. Think about that.
Wow.
It's 80. I think and I have basic YouTube TV. I don't have anything attached to it. You can like add HBO and you can add all these. I have standard YouTube TV that has all my sports that I need. I don't really watch TV. It's for like the golf channel and all that. It's almost $1,000. It's $82 a month. 82 times 12 is about 950, 960.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm a lot like a lot of people. Like I bought an Amazon Fire TV.
Yep.
And we have the internet here, and we have my brother who lives with me here has cable, which he likes to watch cable. That's fine. He's paying for it, so but
Yeah. And that's what he's used to. Some people are just used to that.
yeah. But I watch almost without exception YouTube. That's all I watch is YouTube. I did sign up for the YouTube Premium or whatever the hell it's called, not
Yeah.
YouTube TV.
Yeah. Premium. What's that? Like $10 a month or something?
Yeah, I think they upped it to like 13.99 a month, or
Yeah, of course they did.
of course they did.
Of
Yeah,
course they did. Yeah.
yeah. But anyway, because I like watching what I feel like watching when I want to watch it. And
I'm
I grew up with 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, and
yeah.
13 was
And
PG.
13, yeah. When I was a little kid, that's what we had too, for sure. Yeah.
But I never missed a Met game though. you know.
Yeah, it was on Channel 9.
Most of the games are on 9, unless it
Yeah.
was on just the radio. They had just radio games. But yeah, everything is so fractured and everybody's got their hand in your pocket. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't
Yeah.
want to subscribe to this, that, and the other thing. Um, I don't know what the hell's on Paramount, or I don't know what the hell's on Apple TV, to be honest. I don't really want to watch any of that crap.
You don't need to. So two things. I was this year because SNY, like I wasn't. I'm like they're eventually gonna like lock people's cable accounts where no one else can sign in, but the person at that IP address. That's what they
Yeah.
did with Netflix. I'm like, it's all coming, right? So I was just like, wow, I'm going to be going back to Met Games on the radio. Like that's where I was headed. I was like, I mean, it is what it is. I grew up with baseball radio as a kid. I can do it. So I was just like, yeah, but like like I'm also used to watching. I want to see. You want to see it too, right? And then, so I had, I still have Netflix and Prime. I have Netflix and Prime. That's it. I'm thinking about getting rid of Netflix now too because, to be honest with you, there's a few things you watch, but the point is I had Netflix and Prime, but I had Apple TV and I had something else. I
Hulu,
forget. Doesn't matter. I got
Hulu.
and Apple TV has some good stuff on it, right? But once I got rid of it and once I like moved on, I don't even think about it.
No.
And if I get rid of Netflix, I'm like, oh, I wouldn't even think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Prime because I think it has the best option for movies. And it has, and like also it's a dual thing. You get free delivery on shipments all year long. So
Hmm.
there is another advantage to it. Whereas like, and it's only 100 and I don't know, 25. I think it's like 10 to 15 bucks for the month, but you pay for the year or whatever. Netflix is $25 a month.
Yeah.
That's you just do the math. That's $300 for something I don't use that often.
Well, that's the point I'm trying to make too,
Yeah.
because you have to watch what they have there, right?
You have to watch with and then with Prime, which is nice about them is they put the movie theater movies on. You have to pay for them, but like all right, it just came out, so it's like usually like $20 to rent. You wait 2 or 3 weeks, it's down to like $10. You're like, all right, I don't mind paying $10 every once in a while to watch a movie that's in a movie theater. I don't got to go out. Movie theaters, it's not like it used to be. So like they do have that option. I think Prime is the best. That's all you really need. It's just
Yeah.
that you get caught up with I gotta watch this show and I gotta watch that show, and it's just like, I mean, honest with you,
Well,
I,
I had Netflix thanks to you. You gave me access under
yeah,
your.
they don't let you use that anymore, though,
No,
right?
I know, and I
Yeah,
had Prime, and I realized I don't need not. I need neither one. I don't know if it's just my personal taste or what, but
do you do Amazon delivery?
huh?
Have Amazon delivered packages to you a lot or no?
Not a lot.
Yeah,
For
so
my
yeah,
business, I do.
well,
But
it's free delivery when you're in Prime.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But
It probably, yeah, I got you. Listen, at the end of the day, it's whatever works for you. But the point is, it's kind of like it's a bit of a racket, all this stuff.
yeah, I think it's all these people that are trying to squeeze every buck they can out of you, and I don't want to have anything to do with any of them.
Yeah. What's good is, I mean, I'm a huge sports watcher, so I do the SNY, I do YouTube TV because it gives me all the national channels and all the sports stuff and the golf channel. I also do ESPN Plus, which is, I think it's like maybe it's $100 for the year, but it gives you access. I'm a huge college basketball fan, so I can watch almost any game in the country. I can watch golf major tournaments where I can no commercials and they just follow the golfer. You can pick like, for example, Tiger Woods, and I can watch his whole round. You know,
Mm.
and I enjoy stuff like that. So that's a nice feature. Like so you have access to certain sports that the regular TV is not going to give you. I don't mind paying $10 a month for that. That's fine.
Yeah.
It,
Well,
it comes down to preference and what you're willing to, what you're okay with spending too.
yeah, yeah. One of we were talking before about corruption in the government and this and that. One of the things that ought to be changed is these secured areas that these old cable companies have. Like up where I'm at, where actually you are too. Uh, full,
Yeah.
full disclosure, you're 100 yards from me in another house. But
If I peek close enough, I might be able to see you.
yeah, I'm the guy with the microphone on his head. But like we have nothing but Optimum up here.
Oh,
Whatever they
that's it.
call
Yeah.
Cablevision is what it used to be, right? And there's no other alternative for your internet up here.
Gotcha.
And that's corrupt. That's corrupt too, in my opinion.
Well, that's a bit of a monopoly concept, isn't
It
it?
is a monopoly, and there's other areas like, for example, where Time Warner is the only cable provider
Yeah.
of a certain area. We only have Optimum here. It's the only option you have. That's not right.
No,
And
it's not.
that's why Cablevision, Optimum, whatever the hell they're called, can charge you whatever the hell they want to charge you for your service, for just your internet.
How much is a basic internet up here? $75 a month?
I have no idea. In my shop where I have nothing but I have a landline and the internet in the shop.
Yeah.
It's a retail store. I have to have the
Yeah,
internet.
you have to have a phone. Yeah, I got you.
Well, the phone and credit card terminal. I have music, Alexa in there for the music. I have to have music. It's a retail store. They charge me 200 and something bucks a month just for this,
Wow.
just for the one landline and
Internet service.
now that's being held up without a gun right there.
100%. That's do you know how many MPBs or MVPs?
Whatever the frick they sell you, whatever the BPS, whatever the hell it's called,
Yeah.
the speed is, you
Yeah.
never get that speed. You
Well,
don't
that's
get that
yeah.
speed. I get business something, whatever the hell it's called. I could do a speed test and it's never what they sell you.
Yeah, that's too bad. I mean, that's a big problem. Just for I think a lot of us, you're at the like, what, you're not going to have internet. You're at the mercy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's my point.
yeah,
I mean, you can go through the rigmarole of making your cell phone a hotspot and, rigging up something to get the internet. But who the hell wants to go through all of that, right?
and you also need it to be reliable, right? You can't just be like, "Ah, guys, it's not working today." Like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the thing. And
yeah,
I just think it's because of that monopoly. You said it right, but it's a monopoly. The prices. I mean, that it shouldn't be more than $100 should be the top echelon for that friggin' service.
that seems like a lot.
Yeah, it's $226 a month.
That's bananas. That's bananas. That's stupid. For a phone, like landlines today, like that doesn't cost anybody anything. Yeah,
Well,
I
that's the
mean,
thing, and you do need one. It's a business, and people call all the time. In fact, I get more spam calls than real calls, but I need the landline
yeah,
and the internet. It should not be 200 and something bucks a month.
no,
And
that's
who the hell you gonna call your congressman? What the hell are they gonna do?
listen, sir. I got a huge issue I need to be solved right now.
It is a huge issue. That's good money coming out of your business every month.
100, yeah. And that goes back to kind of what I was saying in the beginning about what I don't get is like how people are debating about money being taken out of their pocket. Like at the core in America, like there's a couple of things that are fundamental. One is, people are trying to make money and keep their money. Like that's a part of our culture. So yeah, I think what you're saying kind of hits the whole point. What we're trying to say today is, nobody likes their money to be taken from them.
Yes, not when it's you can see an alternative that should be much cheaper.
Yeah, you're like a landline phone and some internet.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
They're always talking about you bringing the internet to underserved areas. I'm sure in this country there's still places where the internet isn't all that, the be all and end all there, right?
Yeah.
But what about making it accessible to lower income people? You know?
Yeah, who knows? I know during the pandemic they made a big push to make internet free for kids. I've asked they're like, it ain't free for us. I was like, all right, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but yeah, hopefully this whole push for transparency is a trickle down. Yeah, I'm gonna go Reagan style. Trickle down effect. Where
Going
like
Reagan.
it starts to sprinkle into all these areas where it's like, hey, let's look at this industry and let's see what they're doing and how are they taking advantage of. And it's there's, I mean, there has to be. Well, there doesn't have to be, but it would nice for it to be like in this free market kind of world that we live in America. There's got to be some kind of checks and balances because the human nature will just keep taking the greed will just keep kicking in.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And there has to be a reconfiguration every once in a while, and I think we're in the onset of one, and I'm happy to see it.
yeah, it's gonna be nice, but I feel you because when I was living in my last place when I was on my own in Westchester, I remember like every year the internet would go up like $10. I'm like, what? Nothing has changed. I mean,
Yeah,
the last 2 years it bounced out. It wasn't outrageous. It was maybe 70, $75, but it started at like 45.
yeah,
And it's just like, all right, I changed nothing. No one came into my building to re-up something, but yet every year it keeps going. I'm like, all right, it's a
yeah.
game. It's a game.
It is a game, and I think you articulated it better than me about going back to the new administration we're seeing here. For right now, it's all good. I can't guarantee, like you said before, 2 years from now I'll feel the same way. But for right now, I'm happy all this crap's going on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It needs to be done, and
You
we
know,
need to.
it
We
feels
got.
like a breath of fresh air nationally and internationally.
Yeah. Do you remember an administration where this happened, where they actually looked at the government?
In my lifetime, not this in depth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it would take a guy like Elon Musk, I think, to have uh, the wherewithal or the chutzpah to just go. Being an outsider looking in, he's given that directive by Trump, and he's using it. And in my lifetime, it's never happened to this extent. No, where you found a 300-year-old man, and you found Sesame Street in
yeah,
Pakistan. Things like
yeah,
that.
right. Daniel Boone getting paid still. You're like, all right.
Yeah,
Um,
it just it feels a world different from January 20th till now.
Big time. Elon Musk. He. I don't know if they're from MIT, but I'm just gonna say MIT. He hired like a brain trust of 20 young kids who were just
Yeah,
like,
I know that's what the thing is. Yeah,
it's smart. They got the, and you may love him, you may hate him, you may be indifferent. All right, the guy is super smart. He knows how to run a business. Obviously, he knows what he's doing. I mean, he's building rockets that are landing on their own.
yeah,
The funny part, like you said, I'm like, well, one of them blew up. I'm like, guys, like, sometimes stuff happens. Like he's still landing. Like it's still happening. I'm not making this
yeah.
up. Like, yeah, one blew up. All right, so that's probably what they want one or two to probably blow up, so they know, hey, what are the pitfalls here? What are the negatives?
Yeah, but I just feel like the people that are appointed to his administration are people that are there to shake things up, and I think Trump has had 4 years to think about what he's doing now, and he's running circles around his opposition right now.
Yeah, and
When when you hear things again back to the media, when you hear things like Elon Musk is the emperor, Trump works for Musk, you know. Consider the source before you think that's take it like the Bible. Consider who's telling you this and why they're telling you this.
yeah, because they have an agenda and an angle too.
Yeah,
And the
that's
world they go
that's
to.
that's the only point. I held you up so long. We're
What
on
time is it?
we're on hour three already here. I was tempted. No, I'm only kidding. But we're over an hour, and I was tempted to go live.
Wow,
I've been saying the
we
Bill.
did that once.
That
Didn't
Bill
we do that
O'Reilly.
once?
That Bill O'Reilly clip, right? We'll do it live.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've been saying that so many times in the last 2 weeks, just in my everyday. I can't get it out of my head. We'll do it live.
We did a live show once, didn't we?
Yeah, back in season 2, I think.
Yeah, I think it was successful. I feel like it was, but I don't remember.
No, I meant to do Tonight Live, but I think down the road, you and I'll do a live when I have everything set up the way I want it here in this new location.
Nice. Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
You'll be here. You'll be on the couch over there having a cup of coffee.
Taking a nap. Wake me up when you're ready.
Having a cup of coffee on your own little camera, with little switch. And that's you met Elijah. He's more technologically savvy than I am.
Yeah. What is he, around 20? They know everything about technology.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So he's volunteered to be my techie here. While we set up the decor and the technology involved in this podcast.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So,
That's good. Yeah. You need that. But last thing, if I know we're wrapping up. Did the drum set finally come to form, or is it
no,
still...
I haven't done that yet.
Okay.
Haven't done that.
In due time. In due time.
One day when we're both off for work, you come over and we'll set it up.
We'll bang away. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the problem is me being lefty screwed a lot of it up.
It should be whatever. Yeah, I get you.
I know it should be
sexual.
multi whatever the whatever they call it, unilateral,
We don't have it's
bilateral. What do you call it? Well, ambidextrous. That's the word.
He said bi. That's great.
Ambidextrous. It's supposed to be ambidextrous. I know,
Yeah.
but it's just hey, what can I tell you?
You can start playing righty.
So maybe you should, if you're in a tough spot in your commute and staying in your brother's house a couple of times a week.
Yeah.
But whenever I do schedule the thing with Christopher, which will be sometime in March, it'd be great if you could come on as a co-host.
All right. Yeah. You let me know.
And if you can't, we'll just spend the whole hour talking about you behind your back.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
At this point, there's nothing I got to hide.
Yeah, right. Well, thanks for coming on tonight, Shawnee boy. You get your first glimpse of the new room. As you can see, I got the guy behind me, the Gritty Hour guy. But the decor in this room needs a lot of work. So
the little mantle shelf behind you needs a little love during this.
Yeah, I got little toys back there. You can't see it on the camera. I got trains, planes, and automobiles. Hold on. Got a little plane.
Yeah, it's hard to see. Well, it's for me. It's hard to see. But you know what? This is where I'm at in life. T. I gotta start putting glasses on.
Got a little player piano.
There you go. Oh, I see the trinkets. I see them now.
Well, you know what, Sean. When you own an antique shop, you have access to everything. All right. Well, anyway, thanks for coming on tonight, and we'll see you further on up the road.
My man, it's always a pleasure.
We're going to get rid of this ice. It's what the hell's today's date? It's February 22nd as we're recording this, but we're supposed to get into the 40s next week. Give it a second. We've been dealing with ice for the last 2 weeks.
The snow, yeah. It's time. The Northeast people have moved on from winter. It's time to move on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right, brother.
Have a good night, Shawnee boy. Thanks for coming on.